Hello, I'm Aunty Paula. I'm from the Dharawal mob in New South Wales and I've lived on Gubbi Gubbi country for almost 30 years. In this video, I yarn with you about some of my life stories. Yarning is a time-honoured way for mob to share knowledge through storytelling and conversation. It's a traditional way of sharing our knowledge and stories in a culturally appropriate way or comfortable way. So mob don't feel anxious or scared. It's where questions and answers can flow freely, where we speak in our own way and in our own time. Thank you for listening. So I even had a solicitor, the child rep that was misrepresenting my children, wouldn't even talk to my kids. My kids wrote her a letter. She just would not have anything to do with them. She even rang me up and abused me and tried to force me to stop taking my son to his paediatricians, his social workers, his guidance counsellor, mental health, and everything. And that was a 7-year journey, and at the end of 7 years they were so happy. They said, we're really happy with him, we're signing off now. And anyway, she tried to stop me from taking him to all of his appointments, and I said, you're a solicitor, and I said, I will be taking my son to his doctors and his appointments, and I won't be doing that. Yeah, well, with Aboriginal communities, we don't see people with disabilities as, they're part of the mob, whether they're, disabled or not. And, like way back, Mungo Man used to run with the mob to hunt. And, that was seen as normal. So, it upsets me how I just don't understand how people these days can be so heartless at times. People don't choose to be the way they are, and, they're just dealt an unlucky card, and you've got to deal with it. And I just don't understand why people, get their funnies off, attacking people over it. So I don't even know what year it was now. I think it started in 1999. Separated, was taken to the family court, and the horrendous treatment I received, and even my kids received, was just appalling. My kids and I had to go without food for a fortnight. I just had to make do with what was in the cupboard so I could buy the transcript because I was on the pension. And my youngest, I had 3 children, and my son was the youngest, and he had had a form of autism, and was also diagnosed with post-traumatic stress, and then later on, when he was older, was diagnosed with pervasive developmental disorder not otherwise specified. He was an absolute handful, and I feel bad for my daughters because they jumped in and helped me control him at times when the 3 of us had to handle him. I was with Murray Court on the Sunshine Coast, and I still do workshops for the elders, and so I'm still in touch with that's the mob there, and we'll sit down and assess them and say, right, medical needs, okay, we can help you here. Have you got a roof over your head? So if not, we'll, the staff will, try and find a home for them. If not, give them money for feed for a couple of days. And so many rollouts now. Here's a sleeping bag and a tent. I mean, it's not fantastic, but when you've got nothing, it helps. At Maroochydore, there's now a bus that goes around with sleeping pods. It's fantastic, so they can come and have a feed, have a shower, wash their clothes, go to sleep in a safe environment. Why can't the government get more of those pods happening? Brilliant idea. 8-year journey of absolute hell, and my kids don't even understand what I went through to keep the roof over their heads and everything. And so that horrendous journey led me to where I sort of, that was the start of my community journey, I suppose. And since then, I've been on the board of an Aboriginal health organisation on the Sunshine Coast this is my 19th year and 2 years as chair. And I'm co-chair for Mob, and also another board director for Murray's on the Move. So yeah, and I'm an artist with Uncle Paul Cowcott. We've been literally all over the world showing our art from people with disabilities. And here we are with everything that I've been, Aboriginal dancer. So I danced at the United Nations closing ceremony at Geneva back in 2019. Wow. Was it back in 2024? We went to New York and also South Korea. So I also did the dancing ceremony for them on multiple occasions as well. So after standing up in court and representing myself for 9 years, I just had to force myself to do it every single time. And I used to be dying for morning tea and lunchtime to run to the bathroom, and I just had to psych myself into standing up in court and asking the right questions. And because my memory's shot, I was terrified that I was going to miss things that I had to ask later on. So I was always scratching down things while I'm trying to listen and write at the same time. And it used to take me 3 days to get over it when I'd come home. So, but my case became high profile because I wouldn't bow down to the bullies.
Yeah, wow, that's awesome.
So, and that's what I'd tell people today. Yeah. Always look for a back door. There's always a back door. No doesn't mean no. You've got to go around the whatever you've got to go around. There's always a back door somewhere. Fight for what you want, what you're after, and fight for your rights, and especially fight for your kids. Oh, definitely. It's, collaboration. Once myself as a community member and also, being a director of all the different boards, once you have that partnership and that, friendship, you get to know each other, and it's a lot easier to talk about the needs of the community and can you help us out in any way? Have you got anything available? We can ask those questions quite openly when you get to know the people in, as ministers or, anybody from government, any level of government. It makes me mad.
Yeah.
Listen to people's stories and they're so helpless, and I go empower them by go to their boss. Don't be quiet. Don't put up with it. Yeah, I actually do online on TikTok and Facebook and things when people are telling their stories. Yeah. I just go, everyone's got a boss. Yeah. If you can't get any, anyone listening to you, go to the next one. If ministers and managers and all that can listen a little bit more and ask more questions to possibly put their policies and procedures around facts instead of what they think what we need, that's going to make a massive change. But, the information has to come from the community, go right up to ministers, and it also, ministerial stuff, we have to bring it all back down to the community and explain it to them how it works. For one example, one of our elders was saying, we need a youth centre. Why haven't we got a youth centre? And I said, because it's on our agenda, it's been on our agenda for a long time, but like when we get a bucket of funding, strict regulations, we can only do X, Y, Z with it, and that's all it can be spent on. You don't, when you get a bucket of funding, you can't spend it on whatever you feel like. So it's about getting that information up, but also bringing it back down to the people and explaining, so I get quite a few community members asking me those kinds of questions, and I've got to explain, well, that one's got to go for that, and, we'll just have to keep our ears and eyes open for any funding that suits, whatever that priority is. Yeah. And we're also asking the community constantly, what do you want? What do you need? Yeah. So we base our funding on what our community needs and go for that. Like, we prioritise it. So, yeah, and I think ministers should be listening, you know, both ways, up and down, before they, you know, start developing these policies and procedures, because they're just not working.
No advice.
Yeah, never give up.
Yep.
Don't be shy. I know, you know, public speaking, I used to die. I used to work at a school many years ago, and it never occurred to me I had to get up on stage once a week and talk about what I look after the Aboriginal kids. And when I realised I had to do that, I nearly died. So, you know, just keep working on it, and eventually you won't give a hoot about it, you know, it'll just come natural. But just be true and, you know, keep talking, don't shut up and clam up. Get the truth out there, speak the truth. I see sitting back, and all these policies and things are made for the community to abide by, but some of them are just, you know, they just don't fit. You know, you can't fit a square peg in a round hole, and I feel that they should actually have the policies before they actually make the policies for those people that it affects. They need to be talking to those people firsthand, face to face, before they make those policies. We're all in it together, because with the health organisation I'm in, you know, the community own the organisation. So everything's community run. And, you know, we listen, we talk to the community, we listen, we collaborate all the information, or collate all the information, and then say, right, these are our priorities, list them down, and then take action. Excellent. So, you know, go for funding and try and fix that major problem, and we'll constantly feedback up and down to fix the problems in the areas. And it's, I think that model can be helped for, doesn't matter what organisation it is. You know, I think it's good for the CEO to get in the rooms with the workers and have that that contact and have open discussion, and you know, what's bugging you. You know, we started putting on our, like, we had our strategic planning just recently, and one of the things was ask the staff, you know, do you have a problem and you're unhappy? How are you feeling? So it was all scale, but the very last one that got me laughing was, are you jumping for joy? And quite a lot of the staff are jumping for joy.
Lovely.
Board that I've been on for 19 years, there again, I started at the bottom. You know, it used to be the quiet one, sit there, and so over the years I've learnt the skills, and you know, dealing with, you know, it could be local, you know, your local politicians, to, you know, federal and national ministers, and some of them now, you know, they see us and give us away from across the room, and then we'll catch up. And so, you know, like, built really good friendships with a lot of people now. So it's, at my age now, it's good to, you know, see all these people, and, you know, you can have an open conversation with them as a friend, and also about business too. So it's good about utilising your skills through that to help other people that don't have their voice. Oh, definitely. You know, just seeing if there's anything else that they need. They've got everything that they need, you know, whatever fits their disability. You know, and just let us know if you need anything while we're all talking, or, you know, it's just about being, you know, aware what's going on around you, and, you know, watching people's body language. I'm able to do that, but unfortunately not everyone can pick up on people's body language, so I don't know if it's a skill or whatever, but I tend to watch, you know, I can feel people's attitudes, and or something's going down, so I'm always, you know, listening for things like that, for cues that I miss, and oh, do you need help? Is there something wrong? But like, I'll speak lingo to community in the way they understand it, and then when I step into a boardroom, it's business. And then if it's ministerial, especially ministers that you haven't met before, so, it's very polite and, etiquette. So just being diverse in yourself to whatever the atmosphere and the environment around you is, you just, and also just try and relax and go with the flow. Well, I had a friend that said, who's in mental health herself, and she said, I'm pretty sure you've got ADHD, but she said, you're the only person that I've seen that's been able to focus it on your projects, and I keep active all the time. So my house is just full of arts and craft, and I just, what do I need done? I'll go and paint earrings this week, or I'll go and, create I've got to do plates and platters, so I focus, my energy into that, and then, okay, I've got to do paperwork this week, and I just do whatever. I just make the list, and whatever's a priority gets done, and I just move on, but I can't sit still. So, I can't even watch TV. I've got to be painting or, doing something while I'm watching TV. Yeah, well, it's first about the issue at hand, but it's also about, these people that may know just the outside of what our culture entails, but they don't tend to understand our people, how we feel about, no, I'm not giving you my name, no, I'm not telling you my story, or even as simple as, no, you're not taking my photo, because the traditional people that are still living way out Central Australia and that are extreme remote, still think that some of them still think that their soul's going to be stolen, and it's not a joke, all these things. And when we say that our spirits talk to us, and that you don't expect to be ridiculed and or labelled as mental because you're talking to the spirits, or labelled with schizophrenia, but all our mob talk to the spirits just like we're talking. Yeah, well, whoever comes with me, or if I have to front up by myself, well, you've got to kind of have yourself prepared, or do a bit of homework before you go. Either have your questions written down, or if you know exactly what you need to get across, well, just wing it. And just take it as it goes. But the way I would handle it is, when there was a pause, well, I'd just jump in, and generally, to get my message across, I generally have a situation that I can talk about, a life story, to make the point and bring them life experience and make them stop and think, oh, I didn't think about that. Because that's what the politicians and that need is, to ask the right people the right questions, and that frustrates me. I'm always saying to people, you only got half the story and you didn't ask any questions before. You can't come to, you can't understand the full story if you don't ask the right questions or ask any questions. You've got to make sure you've got all the information before you ask the right questions. And even, a lot of adults don't even get that. I'm trying to drum it into the young people's minds. You've got to keep asking questions.